Hello and welcome to Joyride with your hosts, the Metaphysical Moms, Tiffany and Kerry. Joyride takes you on a spin through all things spiritual and soulful, including holistic healing, energy work, and personal development. Now, here are your hosts, Tiffany and Kerry.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, guys.
Divine Frequency. Hi, everybody. It's Joyride Show.
Yes, I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Kerry.
And we're the Metaphysical Moms, and welcome to show number 102.
Wow.
102. It is June 26, 2018. Man, summer is just flying by.
Already, I know.
So let us know if you're joining us live on Facebook. I'm going to pop in right here and say hello
You know what I would like to do?
to everybody who's joining us, and turn down the volume here.
Okay, I am going to...
Get your phone before we get set up here.
I just realized we're used to having our producer do it all, so we are doing all of it.
So this is Joyride Show. We're in our home studio. It is a beautiful summer day, and we have a lot going on personally, and we wanted to connect with you guys and just kind of share insights, see what's going on. Kerry has been all riled up.
I have been. So we wanted to sort of talk about everything in the state of affairs, and we would love to hear from you and love to get your questions, but we're going to hold them, and we're going to sort of do a Q&A if you guys want to at the end of the show, because by the time you guys type it and we get it, sometimes we've moved on. So, and we really want to connect with y'all. So, I'm looking at that. I need to look at you. So anyway, welcome. All right. So
Tell us what's going on with you.
What's going on with you?
Well, we try to keep the show very real as we move through all of the energies of life. We try to keep it really real with y'all, and sometimes it's a struggle, and sometimes it's a cakewalk. And so, what's going on?
Well, no, I was doing research, and I was looking at all these incredible things happening right now. The booms, these mysterious booms.
So I don't know about mysterious booms.
Okay, so I want to sort of outline what has caught my eye recently. I know that the Earth's the I can't say the word. Schumann resonance has just been off the charts, and as we all know, the volcanoes are active and the earthquakes are active. I mean, I think they said normally on a normal day, maybe 200 earthquakes a day, and we have had upwards of 2,000, 3,000 earthquakes a day. I mean, little tiny ones, but ones that actually you can pick up. I mean, they
measurable.
Yeah. And so, and I know that we have a really big thing coming soon. I don't know how big it is, and I'm doing research on this, but I know that all of the planets are going to line up on one side of the sun, of our solar system.
Okay.
And that's pretty interesting, and it'll be like that for about 6 weeks. And I mean, there are just some really cool things happening. And how does that affect us? How does that affect us? And how,
Well, how's it affecting you? Because you've been researching about all the atmospheric changes, the planetary alignments, the Schumann resonance is different. How is that affecting you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, everything's been wonderful. I talked to you last night. I'm like, and everything's great. And this is a bummer, but suicides are way up, and I've been doing research on that. And it all came in today, and I thought, what if we lived, I was telling Tiff, and I started to cry, what if we lived in Spain on a farm near a beach, and we didn't have TV, and we didn't have everyone telling us that you need to be afraid of North Korea, and you need to be afraid of cancer and meds, and by the way, those wrinkles, they're not looking so hot, and your butt's big or skinny, depending on where you fall off on that. What if we were completely reliant on ourselves and tuning inward, and every day was about watching our babies grow, or farming, or creating, or, and we didn't have that psychotic influence telling us that this world is a scary place. I mean, I have an alarm on my house. I have life insurance. I have all this insurance. I have, and all of this is fear-based. And yes, I know it's smart to have it, and I know it's the grown-up thing, but there is so much fear being sold. And that, in a way, it breaks my heart. I mean, yes, we do need to know, and this is where you chimed in. I mean, we do need to know what's going on in the world and how we can help and what we're called to action with. So I think putting our heads in the sand and pretending that it's all great and love and light as we step over the person that's dying on the sidewalk. I mean, you can't do that. You do have to get involved, and we're all part of the same community. But what would it look like if our corner was, we created beauty, and then your corner, you created it, and you created it? What would it look like? You know, that's where I'm at. It's like, how do we handle these influences in this media that is just so full of shit and terrible, and we're taught too. I'm soapboxing, I know that, but we're also taught that we're supposed to stay informed, that you have to be intelligent and you're of the world, and don't you know? And then, like you say, shit, I don't know where to even start with some of this stuff. You know, like, I don't know about Republicans and Democrats and why and who said this and who said that. And so anyway, so that's sort of the tone for the show, and I really want to kind of look at it and come up with something positive, or a way that maybe can let us breathe and say it's going to be okay, you know. And we did kind of choose this, and maybe that's why we're light workers and we're here, is to change the balance of this. So there we go. That's it right there. I'm done.
Well, it is an interesting dilemma, paradox, that we're in this world. And how do you tune into it and know what's going on and not be kind of bought into the story of it and feel the angst of it all? Or alternative, how do you don't want to just live in this la la land, stick your head in the sand and love and light and everything, and not get actively involved to make the world a better place? So there's a middle ground where, for me, I'm aware of what's going on. I like you said, I don't know where some of these things began, like the conflict in the Middle East. I watched this documentary on, like, how did this all begin?
It's a shit show.
And it was this long, complex story of, well, they were fighting and then we backed them, and then this group came in, and I was like, oh my God, how do you pick that ball of hair apart?
Ball of hair apart.
It is. It's just such a, like, how do you solve that? So I'm trying to find, Kerry and I have had a lot of discussions about this. That's why we thought we'd do a show. Like, how do you stay involved and aware and not buy into it and feel terrible when you're witnessing it, but then you want to actively do your part to make the world a better place and put your special sauce in everything.
Right.
So we'd love to hear from you guys. How do you do that? How do you keep your vibe high, make a difference in the world the way that you can, and vote and be up on, you know, politics and the way the world is going, and not get actively sucked into it?
Yeah.
Right? Because I have friends, they don't watch I don't really watch the news at all. We get the daily paper, so I can look through the paper, or I can look online, and I like BBC and BBC World News because I feel like that's more objective than someone's reporting on it from from afar, and it seems more objective to me. So I like to, you know, NPR. I just bounce around and kind of get my news from different places, but I don't watch the local news. I really don't. So people talk about local affairs, and half the time I'm like, who, what's going on? So, but then I actively get involved where my heart feels called, and whether that's voting or spending time or money or volunteering on something that's really important to me, that's where I feel like I'm contributing. And then Greg Braden taught us that prayer of, there's the perpetrator, there's the victim, and you're the witness, and to bless all of you for the highest good of all concerned. So,
Well,
I don't know if that answers the question or just brings up 100 more.
well, but then where I take it is, I do believe that there's so much more at work, that there's an unseen force, and that it goes back, and it's nefarious, and I do believe that. And I do believe, because I remember during the last election, not this one, but the one before, thinking, why will no one ask the questions? Why will no one, and I don't care if you're purple. I don't give a shit. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're trans. I don't care. It's are you a good person? And will you let me into your heart? That's pretty much it. Are you authentic? That is, and I realized that politics, by its nature, I mean, you have to get voted in, and you have to glad hand, and you have to make promises and that type of thing. But I remember thinking, and this is when it became really apparent to me, there were questions I had and no one would ask. And it was like, oh my God, he's a rock star. And I thought he's handsome, and I thought, Obama. And I just thought, oh, wow, this is, and his wife and the kids and how wonderful. But then it's like, why is everybody so crazy? He's not a pop star, he's a president. And why, but why, but why, but why? And I had these questions. And the more I asked the questions, the more I was shut down. And I thought, who's at play here? And I used the term puppet master. It's like, who is pulling the strings? Because I don't know anything about him. I don't know enough to vote for him. And that's when I started getting really disenchanted with the whole politics thing. Had nothing to do with, it was the system, and it was, and I kept thinking, somebody put this guy up. And then you kind of look around, you're like, and somebody put that guy up. And it's that guy's turn because he's been doing this for so long. And so I started looking behind the curtain, or trying to, and that led me down this other path, and I started asking questions and started seeking, which is what I do in other areas. And that's when I realized, oh man, my vote doesn't really count. And I realized I'm going out on a limb here, and I know there's backlash to that, but that's when I tapped out of the whole politics thing. And because I felt like it was contrived, and I felt like instead of being positive, it was more about fear-mongering. And then it became a divisive thing. And I probably fall off more on, I don't care who you marry, and I don't, so all of that kind of leads you down the road of being, what's the word, not conservative, I'm fiscally conservative. You help where you can, and, whatever. So, but people I loved were so angry with me because I wouldn't agree. And I kept thinking, how did half the country, how are they wrong? Whichever side you look from, we can't be wrong. And it's just so divisive. And then it seems like it's so divisive, like everything has become more and more divisive. And that's the part that breaks my heart. And everybody is screaming, and everybody is looking to validate their stance and the way they feel, so they'll only go to the place that validates them. And then people are so ugly, and they're so mean. And I have friends that we don't agree, but it's done with respect. It's done with, wow, I learned that. I didn't know that. And another thing I've learned is I go directly to the source. So I heard something talking about the border and everything going on down there, and I thought, okay, because normally I stay away from that stuff because it really charges me. I decided to look up the Supreme Court, the case that decided all of this, and the root of it was, anyway, I went to the source and I read, and I don't understand it all, so I had somebody kind of walk me through it, not opinion, but what does this word mean and that word mean. And it's interesting when you go directly to the source and not funnel it through NBC, ABC, Fox News, you go to the source, and then you start to get a picture of what's going on without the opinion, because that's always been the thing, is that
you can spin it any way you want.
Exactly. So that seems to have helped, and that we really will lighten it up, I promise. But this is just sort of where I'm at right now.
Well, there's a lot of change going on in the world. There's a lot of things to be decided, and crises that need a solution. The border in the United States is a huge issue right now. Yeah. And we were just talking about suicides. There's a lot of suicides going on right now.
38% up from 38%.
So crazy. I know when I'm linking the two, I'm just saying there's a lot of decisions being made out of fear, made out of anger, made out of frustration, and we're like, how do we get involved and help from a higher perspective?
Right. And what are the influences? I mean, are there other influences that we're not aware of? And I think there are so many unseen influences, whether it's the bombardment of, we just laugh at again, I know I've said this before, but you'll take this medicine and your face will clear up, but your bowels will fall out. I mean, it is the most ridiculous thing. And not to say that some of these are really needed. I'm not saying that, but it's interesting how when every other thing you hear is about being sick and about cancer, well, eventually, I know I did, I started thinking, oh, I'm going to get cancer. And then how much of that do we create? Between that and the fear, do we create? And so I think there's that planetary, and then you have all of these energies coming in. I mean, the Schumann resonance is crazy.
So tell me about the Schumann resonance, because I really don't know much about it. I know it's a frequency of the earth.
Yes. And so if you go to heartmath.com, it's really interesting because you can punch in any day and it'll show you on a graph. And it's just these between solar flares and just these waves that hit the earth, and the energy of the earth gets blasted, and it affects us. And I may not be saying that well, but it is. I want to. I think when we researched this before, in Russia a while back, they found a way that they could actually pick up the frequency of the earth, like the hertz. What is it?
The hertz?
The hertz, yes. And they spike depending on what's coming at us. And they started correlating suicide, crime, all different things with these different things that hit the earth with these different waves. And right now, I mean, it is just spiking. Like every day, it has been spiking. And there's a guy I really want to plug him. So he's on YouTube, and a lot of his stuff is great because he watches the earth, and he watches the volcanic action, and you go to his website, like the animals are acting really weird. So he's mapped on his website all these stories that people send in, things like geese that just walk down the street. Cars are honking. They're like, yeah, I don't care. Or rabbits that just sit there and they let you come up and pet them. You're not in a zoo, you know. I mean, and birds that won't leave. And I know last week when we had Nora on, she was saying, I mean, she would call me and say, this is so bizarre, these animals. I mean, this rabbit, I just walked right up to it. And so anyway, so this guy on YouTube, he's MBB333, Mr. MBB333, and his stuff is just really interesting. Like, I didn't know, but probably because we don't watch the news, Galveston, on our coast in Texas, it's the mouth of the
Mississippi.
Yeah, it churns up the silt, and so our waters are really brown until you get off a few
Go out a few miles.
Yeah, and it turns really green. But
We've had clear
over
water.
Memorial Day weekend, it was clear blue. And then 5 days later, thousands and thousands of fish died and washed up on the shore. Why? I don't know if it's a magnetic, that's what I'm getting. It's that it's a magnetic thing, and that I know that our poles are kind of shifting and our magnetic poles are shifting. And so I think that may be a lot of the reason why. But he doesn't speculate like that. He just says, this is what I'm seeing. And so check him out, and his link will lead you to the website. His stuff is really interesting.
Okay, the magnetic poles are shifting.
Yeah, they're kind of moving a little bit.
There's always been a little bit of movement, a little bit of wiggle room.
So I don't know if it's that, because I know like at one point the whales, the dolphins, like they would beach because their map in their brain, their GPS was a little bit off. And so anyway. So.
We've got to imagine that, there's these invisible ley lines, these invisible lines of energy, the electromagnetic force of the planet, and that's, I think, how the birds and the elephants, things migrate according to these lines. So if there's things coming in to disrupt that, it will mess up the signals for the animals.
Your GPS goes out and you're driving and you don't know where you're going. Who knows that? But that very well could be that. But anyway,
and there's
really
also
like this guy.
A guy on YouTube that I've been really following the last few years, Dutch Sense.
Oh, he's great.
And he's a scientist, he's a researcher, and he has figured out that there are patterns of seismic movement around the globe, and when pressure builds in one area, it will travel, and he's got this 3D globe, and the pressure will travel, and it will cause an earthquake here. So he's an earthquake forecaster. He doesn't predict them, but he forecasts, here's the energy movement, and here's where this is, and it's all mapped out. He's seen the patterns, and he's followed them for years now. And he's about 85% accurate in predicting earthquakes. He doesn't predict volcanoes, but when there's a lot of pressure built up, he's like, most likely there's going to be a volcano built here. So the whole Pacific Rim, it's constant movement. I mean, our Earth is constantly moving and evolving. And like you said, there's hundreds of earthquakes a day, small tremors and movements. But so I found a lot of peace in my heart going to his site and seeing you can predict, you can forecast where these things are going to happen. It's not some random thing. Some of the articles are saying all these volcanoes are not related. They don't influence each other, and I disagree with that completely. That there is a lot of movement of the Earth, and I think if global warming is melting the ice caps, it disperses the weight of water around the planet, which changes the pressure on the liquid portions of our planet, and it does change and affect. So I believe we are influencing our planet. So it's the electromagnetic stuff coming from above.
Did you just get that, or did you
No,
read
no,
that?
I've been
'Cause that's
researching this for a long
thought about
time. And it makes sense. I mean, it just makes total sense that part of it is natural history. I mean, the Earth is, what, 4.5 billion years old.
6,000 years old.
And it's been moving and growing. And so, there's a lot of volcanoes that erupt all over the world. That's just totally normal.
What about the super volcano at Yellowstone?
I think it's going to take a lot of movement for something like Yellowstone to actually
So it has
blow.
a second, and this fella talks about this. It has a second geyser. There's Old Faithful, and then it has another one, and it rarely goes off. It goes off now quite a bit, and so I think that's interesting. Oh, and when the stars, or when the planets all line up, he said that it's happened. Or my guy, Mr. MBB333, said that it's happened 6 times in 120 years, and the last time it happened, the volcano in Guatemala erupted. Found that kind of interesting. So,
No, go ahead.
well, I was just thinking that the pool. Anyway, no, I'm just talking out loud. I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, I mean, when you hear all this, it makes, to me, if you are not aware, it instills this panic and this fear feeling of all this change, and it's all crazy, and the world, the end is near. But I don't feel that anymore. Oh, you turn off your caller.
Sorry,
Someone's calling you.
my watch.
Instead of buying into that fear that it creates that the world's coming to an end, or you've got to buy this insurance, or it's part of the natural evolution of our planet. I mean, humans have only been around, I don't know, a couple 100,000 years. I mean, the Homo sapiens, like as we are, have only been around 40, 50,000 years, and then like modern intelligence, I mean, not that long. We're here just a short little snippet of window. So when you go back through the timeline of the planet as a whole, this is all how it forms. This is normal, natural formation changes of the planet. So just, we react like the end is coming, but it's not. It's normal.
Okay, so
And there's been ice ages coming and going.
There have been, and I'm shifting gears because this is funny, kind of. Well, maybe not, but there's this guy that I found on YouTube, and he was saying, and it happened to be that day. It was on Sunday that everything lined up, and it was Pentecost. It was the end of the world. I mean, he ended it with, "I hope to wake up tomorrow in a heaven with you." And he apparently has done this quite a few times, and he said all this stuff, and that. Anyway, he said all this crazy stuff, and that it was apocalyptic, and it was very, he read it in Acts, and he read it in all these different places in the Bible. And I mean, he said, I'm 99.99999% sure. So that means I'm 0.1. I'm like, no, you're not 0.1%. Anyway, his math was a little off. And so of course we woke up and we're like, maybe we are. Maybe this is heaven. But it is. Poor guy. I mean, not really poor guy. He's got to quit predicting the end of the earth. But I guess we've
But when
always
you
had
live
those.
with that fear, like this is the end, I can't take anymore, it's too much, all this stuff is happening, it creates this, like a clamping down feeling if I go there. And I'm wondering if that's what's getting you riled up, when you feel of all this influence and it's overwhelming, it's too much.
Well, I think what it is that I've tapped into, is what I said to you, like the chorus of, it's the
collective?
media. Yeah, it's this collective. It's this loud voice, this symphony. And I don't know that we realized that we've created this. And like you said, we've asked for it. When you keep tuning in and you keep
Supply and
buying
demand,
the
yeah.
shit that is made off of slavery in Indonesia, I mean, because you want that that shirt that's $4. We keep adding to it, and we don't even realize it. I mean, that's the thing, and I'm not shaming anybody because I like the deals at the Gap. I mean, but when you start realizing that nothing's free, and what is it doing to our environment, and what is it doing to people more? I think Earth is always going to be fine, but it's the people. And
So we were saying awareness is the first step. So it's overwhelming to take in everything that's
Yeah.
going on in the world and all the problems. But being aware of your role in it, I think, is critically important in your food, in your clothing, how you participate in the world. Your awareness of, don't just turn a blind eye to it, but be aware and to make an informed decision. And it might mean a little bit of a sacrifice on your part. You might pay more for something made.
Then you might keep it longer because it's well made.
Yeah.
You know, there's the trade-off. That's true.
Well, and I want to go back to that feeling of like the end is near and I can't take it and it feels like overwhelmed, because I think that's where a lot of people are checking out and jumping off the planet. It's like it's too much. And then you see famous people who look like they have everything. We've just Kate Spade and
Anthony Bourdain.
Anthony Bourdain just recently crossed over, and we have a dear friend who's, anyway.
There's a lot of it.
There's a lot of it going on, and I just wanted. I have felt like this before in my life, not to the point where I'd actually do anything, but to the point where I was like, I just can't take this anymore. It's just too much. It's too overwhelming, and I don't want to be here. So I understand that feeling. I had a reading with my mom in spirit, and she's like, just take that off the table. Take that option out of your vocabulary and take it off the table. It is not something for you to even consider. Just take it out of the equation, and then you don't go to it as a default. You're going to figure it out. You're going to stay the course. And what?
No, I agree with that. Wendy and I were talking, Wendy Hutchison, and we were talking about this topic. And I think, okay, so this goes to the what if. So just suspend. I'm not trying to play small with how people feel and the tragedy. And we have lost people in our life, actually not too long ago, that decided to end it. And just the devastation, the havoc it wreaks on your family is truly tragic. So that said, from a different perspective, Wendy and I were discussing how sometimes I think it's the soul saying, okay, maybe you can ascend easier from the other side. And I know you don't agree with that. And that's, but it puts it into perspective where it's like, this has just become too much, which actually leads into that vision or that interaction I had with the two earths. And for those of you who haven't heard the story, I'm sorry if you have, maybe I'll say it differently, but it's one night I had this dream, and my kids were little, kind of when they would run into your room at 5 a.m. And in the dream, it was very real, and we were waiting for something to happen, sort of like a hurricane day, you know, when the hurricane's supposed to blow in, and everybody's like holding their breath. And I remember I decided to be at home, so I came home, and I was with my family, and we were in my husband's car, and we were driving, and all of a sudden, whatever was supposed to happen happened, and we did this internal flip, and it felt like flipping off the diving board into a pool, and it was just, but it was elation. I mean, it felt really good. So during that time in my life, this real world, I'd started looking at our food supply, and I'd started like kind of mapping out. It's like, well, okay, so if I eat what they tell me to eat, and then I get cancer, and then I start taking medicine, I'm worth a lot of money to the industry. You know, it's like I started kind of going down that trail of, you know, that there's maybe more to the story. So anyway, so back to the dream. So we flip into this place, and this woman, short white hair, beautiful, kind of wearing this robe, and she said, "Do you know where you are?" And I was like, "I have no idea." And so she explained to me, and then in the meantime, I woke up, the kids ran in, and sweet man that I'm, you know, my sweet partner, he said, "Go back to sleep, and I'll take the kids." And so I went right back into the dream. And she said, "Okay, do you have any questions?" And I said, "Well, yeah, you know, where are we?" And she said, "Well, the darkness overtook the earth. It just did. And you clued into it. And so we've decided to pull some people off planet." And anyway, so she kind of tells me a bunch of stuff. And I want to know, of course, if I could have a house. And yes. And, you know, does my husband work? And she said, yes, but it looks very different on this side because people don't steal patent ideas. And that they take ideas and they put them on the earth, which is really kind of cool. Like they seed the earth with these different, you know, these different things. But what it reminded me of is that maybe that's part of why people, like it's become so outweighed. And so some people are saying, "I'm not doing this anymore. So I'm going to go work from that side." And again, if you've lost someone, I'm not making it small. I'm truly sorry. But it is, I'm wondering if there's a more powerful way to look at it, because that aside, if we're constantly in fear, we are immobile. You know, we are, I know I've been afraid before, and it's like I can't move. It's like it's just catatonic. I mean, I just can't move. But if there is a reason for it, or if we get into a mode of being able to do things, then we're powerful. I mean, when you know that you can change things, when you know that you can change your reaction to things, you go from this victim mindset of, oh my God, the world happens to me and it's just a matter of time before it's my turn on the shit wheel, and to a place of, oh, I don't think so. You know, this is how this is going to play out. And that feels to me so much better. You know?
Yeah, and circumstances, this is
I
what
am
our show is
preaching.
today. It's just sort of venting about where we are and what's going on and how we respond to the world. And we wanted to have a chat with you guys about it because circumstances do change. And when you change your mind, they change even faster. And I'll tell a little personal story that when I was a kid, my family moved from the UK to the US. And we built a big house, and my dad worked in the oil and gas business, and this was in the early 80s, and life was great. And then pretty quickly, the oil and gas industry
Yes.
crashed, and Texas just, boom, just totally deflated. And it was a real recession here, and we lost our house, and my dad left to go overseas to go get another job, working away for a couple years, and my mom's health and everything just totally deteriorated, drinking, and had a crazy relationship with this insane person. And it just spiraled down so fast. The circumstances changed so fast. And I think my mom didn't commit suicide, but she drank enough to where her body just finally shut down. And if she'd have been able to stay the course, and I've been in tough times too, and I can't imagine doing it with 5 kids and the circumstances we were in, and bankruptcy and food stamps. It was intense. But I just think, man, if she'd have stayed here and weathered that storm, we came back up again. We came back up, and now she's got 5 kids and grandkids, and I know she's with me in spirit all the time, but I think, man, if she could have held on and not self-destructed, it would be great right now. And I'm not playing the what if, like, oh, poor me. It's just, I wish I could have, in hindsight, given her that insight that it will change, it will come back. The economy came back, your health can come back, and not to jump off, because it's devastating. It's devastating to the people around you, and it will leave an impression with them for the rest of their lives. We know Dr. Medhus, our dear friend Elisa, and how it has impacted her. And we know that Eric is doing incredible work now from the other side, helping so many more people. But wow, what an intense experience that his whole family had to go through. And I know that was by contract, totally. But I think that's the exception, not typically the rule, that you're contracted to end your life early. I think it's typically the rule is to stay here and figure it out, and you'll go when you need to go. And I think sorry, I'm on my soapbox now.
No, but it is, I mean, how do you know? I mean, how do you know if it's your higher self saying, okay, change of plans, you know, or how do you know? I've never had that. I mean, I can look around and I'm pretty disgusted with what I see right now, and I just want to shoot people, but at the same time, I'm now in this place of surrender to it, but I've never wanted to jump off. I mean, even my darkest, that never even occurred to me. And I know that I've had people around me say stuff like that about, you know, maybe it's easier to go, and I, you know, there's, of course, I don't want anybody to go. I don't want to go through that. You know, I don't want to go through missing somebody and the tragedy and because I know that it's just got to be gut wrenching and watching people. But it's I don't know. There's just this higher view.
Well, and I think of Michael Newton in his books, Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls. He is a past life regressionist. He's a hypnotherapist, and he can take people back through their past lives and the decisions that they made, and it will help them in this current incarnation. And he's done many stories where people who have taken their life, and one sticks out in my mind that I'll speak right now. This woman had come to Dr. Newton's office to be regressed because she was suicidal, and he took her back through several past lives, and one of them was she was like a young girl. She'd fell in love with this neighbor boy. They'd gotten pregnant. They weren't married, and he fell off a roof and died, and she's devastated. She's a single unwed mother. I don't know when this was, in like 1700s or something, and she couldn't see any way out of it, and so she drowned herself in the river. So in her afterlife review, they showed her, they're like, oh, you're back again. He checked out on purpose to give you the opportunity to stay here because you've done this many times. And we wanted you to see these other options that you have. You could have gone and moved to another town, said you're a widow, remarried, and raised your child. That's another branch on your tree that could have played out. You could have moved to the city and da-da-da. So they were showing her these other options where you get to that point, you're like, I just can't do this anymore. There's no solution to my problem. There are other options and other solutions that I think if you let time play out, if you get help, if you do your internal work, if you pray, whatever it is that gets you there, to see these other options and to stay and live and just embrace this life and all the challenges that it had, because you were here for our growth. We're here to overcome our personal struggles. So
No, I think that's beautiful. And Marcy, I want to tell you that this person sitting next to me is not a victim at all. I mean, I look at and I know, I mean, we've shared a lot. Yeah, we've shared a lot over the years, and she's not defined at all by her childhood at all. I mean, I've never, it makes me cry. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, there are people that they hold on and they play victim and they view their life through a certain scope of, of this is what happened to me, therefore, and you don't do that with your family at all. You have a beautiful family.
And I haven't read Marcy's comments here.
Oh, she's very sweet. She's just saying that your mom, that there's a reason. But it is.
Totally there's a reason. And if I am also very empathic. I'm just seeing you saying you're empathic and a medium, and this is so hard to navigate. And I don't know what you've gone through. I don't know what your experiences are. You're in grief. I totally get that. I was in grief for decades. Oh my gosh, I felt like I would have night terrors. I'd just wake up in intense grief, cry every day. It did totally affect me. Totally, watching my mom self-destruct like that, and the depression that just kind of fell on it was so hard. So there's no judgment here, and wherever you are, I just want to encourage you to just reach out, get some help. My go-to tool, and I'll say it again, is tapping. It's EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, and I teach it because I want people to understand they can shift this energy, even if it feels like it's just in your core. You can shift it. You can shift out of it, and just see that there are more options. There are other branches on the tree that you can navigate, even when it feels so overwhelming and the energies are just coming at you. I want to teach you that you're resilient and you're strong and that you can do this, and it can become your greatest lesson, your biggest teacher, and use that to your advantage so that you enjoy and embrace life and you appreciate it more because of what you've gone through.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. See, what a beautiful thing. And what beautiful that you shared it. I am, okay, so where I get a little confused, not confused, because I know what I know, and I know I now have done enough work and talked to enough people that I trust, and I intuitively know, and I've seen some pretty badass things, and it's really truly walking with a foot in both worlds. I mean, it is like this unseen world of off-planet aliens, the powers that be here that maybe aren't playing so nice, and then talking PTA, PTO, and all this other stuff. And so someone asked about Kate Spade. I think there's more to that story. And I don't want to conjecture. I don't really want to go there because I don't want to give that timeline a lot of credibility. But I think that there's always more to stories. Shh. I have my deaf kitties, and they are loud.
Hi, kitty.
But it is, so I bet someone can bring her in. I mean, we'll have to work on that.
Well, I think we can always learn from people. That's why I really do enjoy listening to some of the afterlife interviews, because you really can see it through their eyes, walk through their shoes, and you can see how. But I do think it's a great lesson in seeing that we put so much value on this external material world and feeling successful and fulfilled and, check all the boxes, and that's great to a certain degree, but it's not where it's at. That's not where the joy and the happiness is.
That's where midlife crises are about. I mean, that's where you retool, I mean, I'm not saying, look, I love freedom. Money, I think, gives you freedom. That's the bottom line. It gives you freedom to help. It gives you freedom to be. It gives you freedom to get to do this. It gives you freedom. It gives you freedom. And so I think that's kind of the misconception. But that's that. I'm sorry. I was kind of checked out there for a second. You were talking about things making you happy. Is that what you're talking about?
Detour.
Like, wait a minute. Did I hear that right? Sorry. Am I answering a different
we were
question?
talking about the external. I guess I'm referring to our recent celebrities that look very successful that have recently crossed, and they look like on the external world, and I don't know anything about them. You're talking about bringing Kate Spade in, and there's more to the story, and that we can learn a lot from these, and that the exterior successful doesn't necessarily fulfill you.
Oh, I think there's more to the story than even that. And that's what I'm saying, is that it's like when I see this structure that we're walking in, and I kind of know some other dark, devious things going on in this world. It's hard. It's such a weird thing, because it's like
What are you talking about?
I'm trying not to go there. It's like when you see people and there's more to the story. It's sort of like with JFK. There's more to the story. You got bumped off. Everybody has their reasons why. I think I pretty much figured that one out. And so it's like, I think there are reasons that people are doing what they're doing right now, and I don't think it's always that cut and dry that someone was bipolar or they were depressed. I think there's more to the story, but I don't want to conjecture. I mean, I have my ideas, but I'm not going to put that out there. But it's already out there. So.
Well, I guess we started the conversation by talking about how much is going on out there and how overwhelming it can feel to navigate all those different energies and finding who you are in it, and where's your power and all of this. And I think what we're saying as metaphysical moms is the experiences that we've had is that it's internal power. It's internal knowing who you are, loving who you are, and finding that stillness, that voice within you that navigates you through your own experience of it. Because there's no two experiences that are the same.
No.
Mm-mm. To check out again?
Yeah, because I was
Just
thinking.
lost in thought.
No, I was just thinking how interesting it is, because it's so Tiff is here, and it's like here, like how do you navigate it in a reality, like truly. We turn off these lights, we turn off the camera, and it's like, okay, Kerry, what is your next step? Like, what are you going to do the rest of the day? Like the true present, where I go way out here, it's like, okay, so now, if this energy is hitting the earth, and that alien over there is doing this, and it's so funny because you look for answers here, and I look for answers up here, and that's why I think we work so well, is that we meet somewhere in the middle, and it's like two different perspectives. But sometimes my perspective is so out there, even I'm like, what do I do with that? I'm not really sure where to put that. It doesn't have a box. I got rid of my box. But yeah, so I just think that's kind of funny. That's what I was thinking of.
Well, I wanted to look and see what some people are saying. So can we hop on here and say hi? Because I feel like we're talking about.
Oh no, I know she's real. I know it's real. I know
Hi,
that.
Fabian and Sherry and Denise. Carrie, hi, sweetheart. Hopefully you are doing your shiny event in the UK and it's going fabulous. We love you and we miss you too. Hi, Sue and Brenda. It all affects us differently. This is when we're talking about the earth moving and Gaia's ascension. Hi, Sue and Marcy. Hey, Marcy. And Wendy's on today.
Janelle.
Sue. Hi, guys. Carrie, you're less stuttery at home, Steve is saying. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
haven't been though. I've been spelling things. MOT. I mean, then I misspell. Sometimes I even misspell as I'm spelling it. Weird. Okay.
Marcy's saying that she's spending time with the refugees.
Wow.
So many are placed here. I spend time with youth that are refugees. I was reading some articles about a paramedic who's on the ground, and there's a whole nother story going on. I mean, it looks like one way on paper, but when you're there physically, it's a whole different.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
On the border, there are refugees that are, well, there's refugees all over the world. I know, I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Probably the Syrian. But I mean, my husband gets mad at me when I say this.
Hi,
I just
Karina.
keep wondering why we're not trying to fix the problem there. And I guess we are. Charles says that it's because Russia is not really wanting to fix the problem. They want to destabilize the EU. But at the same time, I think it's like with Mexico. Mexico's such a beautiful place and with such beautiful people. And why don't we try to help fix Mexico,
Yeah.
And instead of, because I think there's a part of our country that wants people to come in, to do things cheaply. And that's not okay. So anyway, I broke it. I sent you, I didn't send you a picture.
She's bleeding.
Yeah, I think
Are
I
you
needed
okay?
stitches, but I had to go pick Siri up at the airport, so I didn't go.
I didn't go get stitches. My finger is gassed. Do you want to go take care of that?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah.
It's not dripping blood. Just hold it above your head.
No, it's from the other day. Anyway, metal thing.
Brenda is saying everything that's happening on Earth right now is opening up minds and throwing awareness and truth in every person on the planet.
Or
Is that
shadow
true?
work. Yeah,
As
I'm
light
gonna-
workers, one light worker brings light to 750,000 awakened people. As Gaia ascends, so do we. Yeah, that is so true. So that's what I'm saying. I guess being in your center and staying in this calm as much as you can helps create that stability for everybody. I know, if my kid falls over and I'm like, ah, they go, ah, and I'm like, hey, you're all right. Let's dust it off. There's a whole different response. So you can, keeping your core stability helps people respond more stably, if that makes sense.
Can I ask y'all something though? Okay, so I really do feel like everybody's just sitting here with us. So we have a couch right here, so y'all are all right there.
David is on.
David.
You're David.
Hi, David. Hey, David.
Oh, Sue knows Dutch. Dutch is awesome.
Tell me if you're going to Kelly's 50th birthday. Okay, I meant to text you. But what if, like, David is a perfect example of this. So it's like the earth is just a fun playground, You can create anything you want. And that is that moving out of victim into just, orchestrating your life. Like, today I think I want to, whatever, be in a movie or write a book, or there are just so many wonderful things about this planet, and that's why I like being
Okay, Marcy, we're going to have a conversation off air because you are going through a lot right now, and I've been through a lot, and I don't want any misunderstanding between us because I absolutely love you, and we're going to have a conversation. So maybe we can call. Maybe I can call you later. And there is a crisis text line for anybody who is having
Oh, there's a yeah.
suicidal thoughts. There are crisis hotlines to just reach out and get some help. I know, because we want you here. You're an integral piece of the puzzle here.
Because most likely, if you're listening to us, if you're here with us, then you are a light worker. I wonder though. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. So the difference between, we throw around a lot of these terms like starseed and light worker and indigo, and they're just ways to kind of explain, I think, groups of traits that we have, and I think they're beautiful ways to say that. But it's what I got, and I don't know that a lot of us are from here, but I mean, maybe nobody's from here. Maybe it's like being in the U.S. and only if you were part of a tribe, you're actually from here. How no one's from the U.S. or California, New York, but it is. What I'm trying to say is, they told me that when I started coming, that I had to agree to the rules and
The human rules.
gravity, reincarnation, and they said, but you're here to elevate. You're here to help people. And I know with Ainsley McLeod, there have been, apparently I got myself in trouble a lot by sneaking people out and doing different things, and it's not it's not good. It's not bad. It just is. And so I wonder how many people aren't actually agreed. Like there was a call that went out that said, "Hey, everybody,
Light workers get to Earth.
Get to Earth because you're needed. We need your vibration."
You're like, okay, I'll go.
I was just there. No, but I wonder. I mean, can anybody say anything to that? And sometimes it's just about remembering. It's just about remembering who you are. It's like, oh yeah, I was a badass in those last few lives. Why am I doing this? And it's just shaking it off. Because this vision. So I started doing Deb Peach. She is elevating the matrix, beyond the matrix. Oh my God, I should know this. She has the most incredible clearing, because I was having issues with what is an attachment, because I've never really protected and done that kind of stuff, and like figuring out what is mine and what is yours, and she has this incredible meditation, this kind of work that she guides you through, and you can download it from her website, and I'll put her website online. I really want her on the show. And it wasn't, because I kind of get funny about talking about entities and that kind of stuff, because I don't want to bring anything in, and it's like, you stay over there, I stay over here. But I know it's very real, but she calls them distortions. And like in your field, knowing what is a distortion, maybe by a story you've told yourself or something you've learned, versus, or what's real. Because if you buy into the distortion, that's where you can kind of get tricky. All men cheat. Well, all men don't cheat. But if that's your story, then you can create that, and you view your life based on that. And anyway, so I highly recommend, and I'll put up, I highly recommend her work. It's just beautiful, very no nonsense.
What's her? Do you remember Ascending the Matrix?
That's it. Thank you. Ascendingthematrix.com. So.
Hey, Amazon. Hi, darling.
Emma.
Good to see you.
Uh-oh.
You and Gerald. Thank you so much for giving away our reading. You did a reading and a healing on our 100th show, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to hear how those go, the readings and the healings.
So guys, I don't know if that helped, but keep checking in, and all of the stuff that I'm watching, and watching the earth, and watching kind of what's going on, because I think that is a sign. I think that seeing the movement, the volcanoes, the earthquakes, the energy spikes, I think that those are kind of indicators, maybe not bad or good. I mean, it's just that things are changing, and maybe it's part of the ascension,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think the history of our world, if we could see it in an arc. Well, remember that movie we saw where it's a spiral, but it's an upward spiral. Do you remember what it was called? Oh, we'll have to find the name of it. It was a great movie, and it talked just more about the history of our ascension and how we are evolving up and out, and it doesn't feel like it because we're on this tiny little point on it, and maybe we're on a down sort, but it's all momentum, and it's all moving us up and out. So we just want to encourage you and know that you've got a family here of friends. We're all connected, who can help you out if you're in overwhelm, if you're in grief, and just hang on. Find the joy, find the way to get through that day. And focus your thought, dig out these old distortions and paradigms, and move them through so that you can move into that realm of expansion.
Bye, Sue. Well, yes, and I think unplugging too. I mean, I think that's like a 101 thing, to unplug from a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, so that's how we kind of started the conversation about when you're so plugged in, it feels overwhelming. So plugging in, to me, I plug in locally and plug in where I can effectively and make a contribution, but I try not to take on the weight of all of it. It's too much for one person to process.
Well, and yeah, that's exactly right. All right.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us on today's Joyride. We love having these conversations with you. They're not always easy, they're not always pretty, but they are what's going on in our world. It's what's going on in our hearts, what's coming to us in our intuition and our dreams, and
right.
We like talking about it. We like sharing it and being there for each other. When I'm low and she's high, she's low, we help each other out. So thank you for being on the Joyride with us.
Yes, absolutely. And we will see you again. We are uploading, we're not live next week on July 4th, that week, but we will upload a show. So we do have something planned. So, all right.
Wow.
Have a great week.
Bye,
We'll
guys.
See you later.
Thank
Bye.
you.
All right.